Oh, here we go, we're live.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay, keep watching just in case we're no longer live. Okay, so the Fly the Osprey team have actually come up into the Pyrenees, hence why the signal may be a little bit ropey. We are on a Caucal mountain pass called Organbidexka. It's at the western end of the Pyrenees. And yeah, wanted to share it with you. We have a really amazing atmosphere with lots of people gathered on this mountain. And to explain why, I have Paul with me. Paul, thank you very much for coming. Now, Paul is managing this project. In fact, can you come back 1 second? Paul is managing this project and he's really busy. We've had a fully clouded morning. Most of this whole valley was full of clouds. So there's been a bit of a run of birds on migration. And so he cannot sit with us for very long. So we've got him for a few minutes. He's going to go and swap over with his colleague. So yes, can we start off by speaking to, yes, Paul Capbern. What are you doing here? En français. Oh, sorry. The other thing I have to say is that I'm going to again try and translate live as we go.
Donc, on est ici pour faire un suivi de la migration des oiseaux.
We're here to do a study of migratory birds.
Donc, du 15 juillet au 15 novembre.
From the 15th of July to the 15th of November.
On va compter tous les rapaces,
counting all
les
the
grands
birds
planeurs
of prey
tels que les cigognes
and the big
et les grues.
planeurs. Is it the gliders? Grand planeur, ça veut dire.
Grand planeur.
Examples are.
Stork, white stork or black stork. You know,
and the cranes.
Avec des grandes ailes. Yes, and the
yep.
crane.
Okay. So the cranes and storks.
And also aussi les pigeons. Aussi les pigeons.
And also the pigeons.
Yeah. And depuis maintenant 44 ans, il y a un suivi ici qui est fait.
That's 44 years this project has been going on.
Par des ornithologues pour étudier en fait l'évolution des oiseaux migrateurs. S'ils passent plus tôt, si le réchauffement climatique a un impact ou non.
See if the climate change has an impact or not, and see other changes.
Voilà, et ça permet en fait de tirer des conclusions, des sonnettes d'alarme. Est-ce que les rapaces sont en danger ou non? Est-ce que les oiseaux sont en danger ou non? En fait.
Which birds are in danger and which aren't, etc. Okay, très bien. Et the next question was, what's it like? So what are we looking at behind us? Can you explain what we can see behind us?
Donc ici on est en plein milieu d'un col, donc on regarde tous les oiseaux qui vont passer vers le sud. En fait, ils vont traverser les crêtes. Et donc les oiseaux, ils choisissent cet endroit en fait parce que c'est une des premières vallées qu'ils voient quand ils arrivent.
This is the first valley they see when they arrive.
Également, c'est un ancien lieu historique, c'est-à-dire qu'il y avait beaucoup de chasseurs autour de nous.
And it's an old place where there used to be lots of hunting all around us.
Les ornithologues, ils pouvaient vraiment être au milieu en fait des chasseurs.
And so
donc ça permettait un peu
originally the ornithologists used to be right in the middle of the hunters.
Et ensuite, on est également au-dessus des oiseaux, c'est-à-dire qu'on va pouvoir bien repérer les oiseaux, car eux, ils vont passer, comme vous l'avez vu, en fond de forêt.
Where we're looking at them from, we're right in the middle of the migration. So the point of view that you get on them is easier to identify.
Yeah. C'est un grand point de passage en fait, où des milliers de rapaces par saison, jusqu'à 70 000 rapaces la saison dernière.
70 000? 70,000 birds came through this region last year. Last year in the autumn migration. Yeah. Wow, c'est étonnant. And we are here obviously with a particular interest in the osprey. And I know the answer to this question, but when did you last see an osprey?
Donc on a vu un balbuzard il y a maintenant, ça doit faire 1 heure à peu près. L'oiseau, on l'a vu arriver donc du nord en fait. Il a battu des ailes à fond pour traverser en fait les nuages. Il est passé au-dessus des crêtes. Il a vraiment migré vers le sud avec son vol typique.
And he passed over the mountains and through the clouds. Yeah, taking a typical route.
Et que Gabi va pouvoir expliquer avec la question suivante.
And Gabi can explain the rest of it in a little bit. But before you go, we saw him take, or the osprey, take a route up that, from the north and up that ridge there. What is up that ridge? If we were to follow that, what would we see?
Il a pris cet endroit en fait parce que la topographie de la zone en fait ça fait qu'il va suivre la vallée et il va filer vers le sud en prenant en fait les endroits les moins hauts. Il va traverser les endroits les moins hauts pour.
That route means he can take the lowest possible route all the way towards the south.
Donc,
oui, super, merci.
Ok, avec plaisir.
Merci beaucoup.
Je laisse ma place à Gabi.
Oui.
Ok.
Okay, so I'm hoping, are you still live? Is that still working?
Yep, it's still live.
Signal? Okay, great. So Paul is managing this this project, and there's about 40 volunteers here at the moment, all different ages, and yeah, some different levels of skills. But the general style here, apparently the routine is that there are the very skilled ornithologists get an understudy and are training each other. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Gabriel or Gabi?
Yes.
What do we call you?
Gabi. It's
Gabi.
Okay. It's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, so Gabi, how long have you been coming to this site, Organbidexka?
Okay. I come here since now 11 years. So each summer, most of the time, and I was also a coordinator like Polo in 2020 during 2 months. Between 15 July and 15 September. But overall, I like to stay here for several weeks in the summer to help during the period where it's quite tricky to count the raptors, because it's the period with a lot of birds.
Yeah.
Because the black kite and the honey buzzard decide to migrate at this time of the year, and during these weeks in August, it's quite complicated with really regularly many mixed streams between black kite and honey buzzard, and it's good for the coordinator and also overall for the team to have experiences to separate the species, and also to do the age classes for some species, the sex, etc.
Yeah. So as I've been observing it, it seems to work that somebody will spot a bird or a group of birds, they let you know, or Paul, and then you allocate those birds to one person, and that one person should watch them, so you don't have 5 people counting the same birds.
Yes, the goal is indeed to separate the streams among the different peoples, and because sometimes you can have at the same time several flocks of raptors, several kettle of raptors in the sphere, and here the sphere is quite big, quite wide,
yeah.
And it's necessary to work like that. And it's also very important between this group of peoples that it try to count this flock of raptors, to communicate, because especially with this kind of weather, you can have some streams at one point and some other streams at one other place, but the streams can be joined during their migration.
When you say streams, what do you mean by that?
It's a group of raptors.
Ah, okay.
Line of birds, and at the beginning of one situation you can have 2 different streams, but at the end, because of the cloud situation, it's only one.
Okay.
And to cross our sphere, because there is some strategic point
right.
for this species, and with this kind of situations, it's maybe just 1 or 2 possibilities for them. So at the end, it's only one group
okay.
of
All the
raptors.
birds.
So at this time of the check, it's necessary between the group of peoples to communicate well, to don't count 2 times
right.
the same groups. Birds.
So one of the somebody I spoke to this morning said that in the first days or the early years of this project, everybody used to speak only in English, because there were people from all different countries here. That would have been even more complicated. Now at least everybody can speak in French, but then if lots of different people from different countries with English as a second language, all trying to communicate in English.
Yeah, it's difficult indeed, because we don't have the same level in English between the counters. But to be honest, I like to speak English since several experiences on my side abroad, for example in Eastern Europe, and in my opinion, it's quite good to try at least to integrate the other nationalities here, and at this point it's for me a good things to try to speak English, to have more of people to participate at the count, because like I said, it's sometimes complicated, and if you have English people with experiences, I think, on my opinion, it's really important to try to work with him for the count.
Yep. Okay, so you've been here for many years and you've observed birds in different countries. Is there anything that you have noted about the way that the osprey migrates, its strategy for migration?
In first, in my experiences, osprey begin to migrate during the first day of August, but really the first birds, and the main period it's between 10 September until 25 September. So these 15 days.
That's when you see them mostly here?
Yeah, mostly here. So these 15 days between 10 and 25 September are really important for us to have a proper count of ospreys. And so for the phenology, in first it's here these 15 days, and after for the migration strategy, it's I think you know already, but mostly by one bird, and sometimes 2 or 3 for the peak, the 14 or 15 September, and it's doesn't matter the weather conditions.
Really?
You can have with this kind of cloud situations at the middle of September, you can have 10 birds in one afternoon, because it's not impossible for him. It's at least it's actually the opposite, to migrate under the small rain, or between some low and wide clouds.
Yeah.
So
where other birds wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but not all. But the areas, for example, can continue to migrate with this thick layer of clouds, and for the osprey, the strategy is similar, and
so they'll fly in rain and thick cloud. And what about headwind?
About the wind.
Yeah.
I think the best for the raptors here is to have the northeast wind.
Wind from behind.
Yeah, wind from behind. And it's not the case only for osprey. But in my experience, I remember, for example, a group of two osprey with just one bird behind, so 2 + 1, just after the fog, and under a drizzle, and it was so nice to see that for the team after long hours in the fog.
Yeah.
And it was almost the first raptors to migrate during this day, and honey buzzard and black-eyed were present after, a few hours after actually, because the situation was completely closed overall for the different valley, quite good to cross for the main species of raptors. But the osprey can cross everywhere here.
Right.
Even if it's completely blocked by the clouds, you can have an osprey in 1/2 of seconds for the team, just before these mountains, for example, and you have just like I said, 1 or 2 seconds to identify and to follow.
Yes, excellent. How, as an example, what is the maximum number of birds you might see here in a day?
For included the storks, which is quite important for us at the end of August. I think you can expect on average, for the biggest number of individuals, 8,000 birds at this time of the season. And there is, of course, some
8,000 birds in one day.
Yeah, for black-eyed and honey buzzard.
And how many people to count them?
On average, between 10 and 15.
Okay.
And for
There's
example,
more than that here today.
yeah, because at the end of August, it's all the time here since now many years the best period for the people to come because they want to see the main passage of Organbidexka.
Okay.
But at the beginning of the season, the 25 between 25 July and 5 August, you have the peak of black kite, and a few years ago, we have counted more than 13,000 black kite in a day, but it was only one species,
Okay.
and it's the record. But on average, in my perspective, it's 7,000, 8,000, and when you progress on a season, during the season, you can have more, but it's mostly cranes and wood pigeons.
Yeah.
The migration of these two species is quite important here, especially for cranes. And you can have 5,000-6,000 cranes and 1,000 red kite and 10,000 wood pigeons.
Wow.
So it's much more.
Yeah.
But if your question it's now in the summer, I think the answer is 7,000 in maximum.
Wow, that's still a vast number of birds.
Mm.
And then, for a little bit of history of this site, as I've learnt today, this site is partly here because it used to be a site for hunting.
Yeah, I think Sergio explained better than me because he has much more experience about the spot history, about the hunting.
Sergio is
Serge Barand.
yeah, he spoke to me this morning, and he's been coming here for 42 years.
Mm. And yes, at the beginning, this place was occupied by the hunters to shoot wood pigeons, but also some protect species, unfortunately, and some naturalists, some ornithologists was there to try to win front of the peoples with another strategy to see the migration, so to hunt.
Yeah.
And little by little, with the work of some few peoples actually, this place was only a place for scientific count, thanks to Serge Barand, but also some other important peoples, Jean-François Terrasse, Michel Lecomte, for example. These three peoples are really important for the project at the beginning.
Yeah.
And now, since 20 years, 25 years, we can add some other objectives, especially the animation on the spot to explain the migration at the for tourists, for the eco-tourists, or for the tourists overall, and also to be more precise for some students,
Yeah.
because I like also this time of the season because it's just before the first day of September. The first day of September, it's the period for the students to begin their studies,
Yeah.
and they like to spend some hours, some days in
Doing something practical.
to practice the raptor identification, the bird identification, and we can also speak about the bird conservation during this time. And it's, in my opinion, also really important to add the scientific count and also the animation around the scientific count.
Animation being, speaking to local people.
Yeah.
So as I've understood it, part of turning this site into a bird watching and bird counting site was buying up all the hunting licenses on these couple of ridges as well. So there's no hunting here, but there is some allowed in other areas along the Pyrenees.
It's actually it's allowed to hunt even now. Not now exactly, but in October.
Yeah.
You have some posts along the ridges here, but also behind you,
Okay.
and to hunt the wood pigeon mostly, but also some small birds like thrushes.
Okay.
But now the main spot to hunt for these peoples, it's more in the west of the Pyrenees, because the migration of wood pigeons is now a bit more on the sea coast, on the seaside. Sorry, and I think the hypothesis is now the number of days with a really strong south wind.
Yeah.
It's really important, and here the situation of the valley for these birds with a really south wind behind them is not so important and not so good to cross the Pyrenees.
Right.
And because the valley situation is not good after this kind of wind.
Yeah.
And,
So basically
it's opposite for the west part, the west part of the Pyrenees, so
got a
close to the
northerly
seaside.
More northerly wind.
Yes,
do they?
yes.
Okay.
And also, even if there is many days with a south wind, the valley situation close to the sea coast is better for them.
Okay.
It's less tricky to cross than the east part or the more inland part in the Pyrenees.
Okay, and as Serge explained this morning, that the general thinking is that this is because of climate change, this change in the wind strength.
There is also this fact, more and more of, I spoke about the wood pigeons, but it's a good example, because more and more they try to spend the winter in the land, so it's an area just a bit more in the north from here, and because the food is there, and there is not many days with a freeze. It's not completely freeze.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There is no snow, for example, for many days, and even during some winter you cannot have snow. Okay. And for these birds, that they like to eat on the ground.
Yeah. They don't need to go south.
Yeah, and it's good for them to don't take energy to fly a bit more after the Pyrenees.
Yeah, I understand completely. Okay, and then obviously we've been sitting here for a while. There's a fantastic atmosphere here. It's also a really beautiful spot to sit, because you sit here in the middle of this incredible view. The weather is changing constantly, so it's like you're watching a big theatre of birds where the scene changes, the actors change all the time. What does somebody need if can anybody come and watch birds here? Can anybody come and volunteer here?
Yeah, actually, everybody is welcome for me, and my opinion also is to have at least two people that can speak in English, for example, to say welcome to the people from other nationalities, and also it's good to have one people that he can speak Spanish, for example, because we are quite close to the Spain border. So yeah, everybody is completely welcome, and are completely welcome, and for me, I try also to insist with the young people to say at some other students, for example, to come here, because like you said, the atmosphere is really nice for landscape. The weather it's changing, but it's also good. It's also good to see.
Some days it's completely foggy in the morning, which means you can sleep longer.
Yeah, but also the dynamic between the people is good to learn.
Yeah.
And I like to have this situation. I would like to have this situation for many years. So obviously everybody are welcome to continue in this target with this target.
And in the years gone by, there was a little accommodation building down on the hill, which is no longer used, right?
Yeah.
And now volunteers stay in a really nice chalet up there.
Yeah. It was, but that's the story also of the project, but mostly, but there is some situations that I have not all of the information about all of the story of this small accommodation, and there is also some story about the security at the end of the years.
But
2009-10.
I did hear that was very basic, so it was no running water, no electricity.
And it was also a bit dangerous because of the fire, and if it's on a fire, it's very tricky for the people to go outside really quickly. And so after 2009 or 10, if I remember well, the decision was to stay and to rent this story.
What is it?
I can just see.
This has kind of been how the days go here. So when something interesting turns up, the energy is palpable. I haven't quite heard what it is yet. But can you make sure that it's all visible on camera, not necessarily looking at me? So I'm still not sure quite what it is. I'm going to ask somebody in a moment when they've stopped trying to find it. Quelqu'un pourrait nous dire en anglais ce que c'est? C'est ce que c'est? Quel oiseau? En français?
Ouais, c'est un point quoi.
C'est quel oiseau?
Un lab. Regardez, you want the translation?
Yes.
I can check on Google.
Okay. Okay, so we're about to find out what a lab is. That was obviously very exciting to everybody. It's probably too far in the distance for us to actually be able to show you on the camera. But yeah, let's see if it's going to come really quickly. Okay. Okay, so yes, palpable enthusiasm for the more rare birds when they come. There are also plenty of griffon vultures that are coming through that are totally impressive. Sometimes they're coming really close to the hillside. However, they don't even bother counting those anymore because some of them are resident, and it's impossible to know which ones are migrating and which ones are resident, just passing back and forward repeatedly. But they are huge and beautiful when they're coming through. Hopefully Gabriel will come back for a second and explain to us.
Maybe we could phone scope it.
Yeah. Can you try and phone scope it?
Someone would give up their scope.
Paul is going to tell us, I'm sure. Paul? Paul? Est-ce que tu peux nous dire le nom de
it's Arctic. Ah non, parasite Jäger. Parasite Jäger, on dit ou Arctic squaw.
Arctic skewer. Okay.
Really?
Is he going to come with a? I think he's coming with a book. Oh no, we are still live. He just disappeared.
Yeah, sorry, but.
It's all right. It's all right. It was.
I'm afraid because the bird can enter in the cloud, and I want Gabi.
Okay. And what do you? Qu'est-ce qu'il faut savoir avant que?
This one.
Okay. Is it an Arctic skewer? Is it written in English?
Stercorearius parasiticus. But Gabi will give you the English name.
Okay.
But you can see how it looks like.
Okay, which one? Male or female? Do you know?
I don't know.
You can see there's a huddle in the background, so I'm not sure that they're all completely sure either. Does anybody know the name in English?
No.
No.
This one.
Okay.
Is that Pomeranian skewer?
This one.
This one.
No.
I check.
Ah, tu veux le nom en anglais? Je sais pas le nom.
Parasitic skewer.
Oh, there's a lot of discussion going on, so clearly I'm thinking it's not clear exactly what it is, otherwise they wouldn't be consulting a bird book.
They are sure of what it is. I think they just discuss about the age, and because some of the people doesn't know, so they show them because it's not a very usual bird.
Okay.
So it's why.
we
But
thought
they are sure that it's
what is
that it's where is my Google Trad actually? I'm looking for. He's not far away.
No, he's not far. He's getting to us slowly, but there's plenty of other volunteers. And suddenly it looks like there's a lot more people here than there were before. But yeah, I think when he said there's an average 10 or 15 people, I think you can see that there's a vast number more at the moment. Yeah, but when you think of it, I'm not sure how far away it was, but they're for every bird that's coming through there.
So sorry.
That's fine.
For me, just to be honest, it's my first time to see a squaw here. So I was quite excited to see.
It was obvious. That was good. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got as far as it's probably an Arctic skua.
Yeah, it's an Arctic squaw. So these birds overall like to migrate along the coast, even sometimes really far from the coast on the sea. So for spotters, it's absolutely amazing to see this species on the mountains and along the
river. You can't see the sea anywhere from here, can you?
Yeah. No, we cannot see the sea.
No.
So yeah, it was this kind of plumages. I think with quite spotted underparts.
Yep.
And a quite long projection on the tail,
yep.
Quite pointed, but the belly was white, so quite close to the adult plumages. But we can see some spots, and for the adult birds, the underwings are quite uniform, quite dark, and it was not the case for this bird.
Okay, so what is your conclusion from that?
It's a long tail, it's an Arctic skua, but. The goal and the exercise is to try to separate these three species, and these three species are quite close to each other.
Okay.
And it's possible also here to see the long-tailed skua, but it's scarcer in France. Yeah. But the tail pattern and also the size of the tail was absolutely not like this kind of bird, so short.
Yeah.
And the tail was very long for this previous bird.
Okay. And so how many experts, of all the people here, how many are experts that you would discuss?
Yeah, we were two or three to discuss about these plumages, but I think we will discuss again.
Yeah.
But now I have to also respect our interview.
Okay.
But I think I will speak again with some friends to explain also my opinion about this bird, because I know quite well, or I have some not. We can all the time improve, but I have some knowledges about the migration of the skua along the coast, along the Atlantic coast, and when you have some experiences on the main spot to see the species, you can have some opinion about the wing beats, the shape, also coloration of underwings, which is quite important to check to have a proper idea about the identification.
Yeah.
And I would like after during the evening with these friends to discuss about this interesting bird.
Yeah.
Because it's not annual here. Yeah. You can have some season without any skua, of course. Yeah.
Well, we thought it was exciting seeing 2 ospreys in 2 days, when I think there's been a total of 8 before we turned up so far this year. But that was obviously more exciting again. And the Serge that was mentioned earlier, let's just show him very briefly. This is the famous Serge we spoke to, who's been coming for 42 years.
Yeah.
Serge, can you say hello?
Oh, no.
Merci.
Yeah, he want to cook.
Me too. Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much for all of that. And yeah, if anybody does want to come here to watch, I would highly recommend it. And volunteers are also welcome, whether they are really trained or just getting into ornithology. Superb place. And yeah, if you're interested in this place, follow. Is there a website for the project?
Yeah, to see for example the result each day. There is a famous website for the migration. It's Trektelen, trektelen.org. and everybody can check the result of Organbidexka, and it's really easy to use this website to see the data here.
And if they wanted to contact somebody about coming to volunteer?
You have to check the LPO website, LPO Aquitaine website, and I think it's quite easy to find the contact of Jean-Paul Urquin to have more information about the spot here, and also the information about the accommodations, for example.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
indeed.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, and keep following Flight of the Osprey if you want to see more about the journey from here onwards on all the social medias. And yeah, thanks very much.